Hi everyone, it's Tuesday evening. Hope the lighting's okay. I just saw a post that supposedly from Chantel saying I'm in the Middle East. It looks to me like a stock picture. It's got the little white line at the top as though the picture's been taken from another photograph and that it's not her photograph at all. That doesn't mean to say she's not there. What I'm saying is that probably isn't a photograph that she's taken. Um, if she got she said she wasn't going yesterday. If she got the flight today to Doha, it wasn't leaving Canada until 1 o'clock, which is so she'd only be about 2 hours into the flight now, wouldn't she? It's about 7:30 here. So there's no way she'd be there yet. She just wouldn't be. And her phone would be switched off. She wouldn't have the phone on in flight. So she might be on her way. She might have taken a picture, sent it to us when she was at the airport in anticipation of landing there this evening. But we'll see. I don't know. You never know with her, do you, really? The one thing, there's three things in life you can be sure of: death, taxes, and Chantal lies. Right, this video, I was going to promise you, did promise you, I didn't promise you, I sort of promised you. I said I might do a video last night, Halloween, and I told you the reasons I didn't. I just thought there'd be a lot of Halloweeny stuff going around. So I wanted to share a little bit, just a little bit, and if you're interested, I'll share a lot more of my experiences. First of all, my belief is that when we die, and when my husband died, when we die, at the point of death, the soul, your energy, your spirit leaves your body. And I believe that there is someone, a loved one, a mentor, guardian angel, call it what you will, to help us transition from this life into the next. And when I say next life, I actually mean our spirits sort of go back to source, go back to the universe, go back to energy, go back to God, if you will. But we're not worthy of being there. Until we reach a state of perfection, then we're doomed to keep returning to Earth and repeating until we learn from the same mistakes. Those are my beliefs. I was brought up a very strict Catholic, very strict, and but I did learn to think for myself. We were asked at school once to what we thought a soul looked like. And I thought, well, how can you draw a soul? How can anybody know what a soul looks like? And I remember I was only about 10. And so I drew the outline of a person. And when I was asked what I meant by that, and I said, well, the soul is the person entire. The soul is what moves us, energizes us. And even at that stage, at that early age, that's how I was feeling. And I've come to the full circle now. But I've had a few weird experiences in my life, and they can, for the most part, be verified by my family. One experience I'll tell you of, I was on leave from Saudi Arabia. I was back home. I'd gone to bed, and I couldn't sleep, and I was restless and the lights were all on, and because when I had fallen asleep, when I did doze off, I had a dream. And in this dream, I was suffocated. I was in a big arena-like place with steps going up at the back. It was like a Roman arena, if you will. And there was a wire, some sort of fence at the front, mesh fence. None of it made any sense to me at the time on the night. And there were crowds behind me, and they were pushing and they were pushing. And then, because I was right close to the front, I was pushed and I was sandwiched between the person in front of me who was against the fence and the people behind me who were pressing on us and pressing on us. And I was suffocated to death. I believe the month was April. I know it was 1989. And I was on leave from Saudi. And the following day, and it was Alf who said to me, "Are you listening to the news?" The following day was what they called the Hillsborough disaster. And it was crowds of people. There was a malfunction of the police who were, supposed to be ensuring that the stadium itself wasn't overfull, but they opened the door to let more people in than they should have done, ordered the stewards to open the door. And as I say, it was in 1989, and it was the Hillsborough disaster, and people were pushed up against a fence. They were trampled on. There was about, I don't know how many casualties, hundreds of casualties. And there were something like 95 deaths. I want to say 95. 95 people who died. But my dream was, although it was like that, it was like in a Roman arena. I'm not sure that they had that mesh fencing then in a Roman arena, but it was there. And I was pushed, sandwiched and suffocated to death. And that was the night before the Hillsborough disaster. And of course, I told Alfie what was going on before, when he said to me, "Why couldn't you sleep?" And I told him, and then when he saw that on the television, he said, "Annie, are you listening to this?" But that wasn't the first time things had happened to me. First time was I was at my mum's house, and we'd moved to a very, very, very old house, and I could never settle there. And I was in the back bedroom, and I could hear footsteps, bump, 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 coming down the little steps, 3 little steps, and just standing at the side of my bed. I put my head under the blankets, and when I peeped out again and everything seemed quiet, I flew out of that bed and jumped into my mother's bed, something I'd never done in my life. I was about 14 then. She moved not long after that, but that dream sort of stayed with me, and we learnt that the woman of the house, the neighbours told Mum, had died there, and then a few months later the man had just had a heart attack and died, and they found him on the floor in the room where my bed was. So then there was that. But there's other stories which I will tell you. They're for another time. And in a similar vein, and the one person who has come to warn me, who I was told was by somebody who was supposed to be knowledgeable, that this person was warning me, was my guardian angel, was looking over me. I don't know about that. But as I say, certain things have happened which prompted me to go into these self-hypnosis tapes, and I'd been doing them for quite a while. And then I decided to go into past life regression, and I'm very open. I'm very open-minded, and therefore I'm very susceptible and not naive in any way, but I'm just open-minded, and therefore whatever is trying to get through to me is able to get through to me. And I did one day I did this past life regression tape, and I saw my own death then. I was a novice nun or sister. At least I was all dressed in white and veiled. I lived in a sister house, what I was calling the sister house then, but, convent. I think it was somewhere in Italy. My parents had given me to the convent, if you like, as a gift. They had, I think there's another 3 children, and times were hard. And in return for my work at the convent, in return for my placement at the convent, when I visited my parents, I could take produce home to them, and they only lived across the square, and I was allowed to go and see them every couple of weeks. And I left the convent this one time, went to my parents' house. I remember distinctly what the place was like. It was one big room. My parents slept in that room. There was an open fire. There was a little room off where my siblings slept. And I remember playing with them, and my mother cooking and laughing and spending a lovely day there. Walking back across the square to the sister house, there was a hole in their garden out front, their garden where, at the back they'd got the orchard and all the vegetables, and there was a big hole, like a manhole cover had been removed or something like that. And I stepped and I fell down this hole. Nobody found me. It was 3 days later that my body was found. And it was in the 16th or 17th century. I was 15 years old. And I recall standing next to this hole, my spirit trying to get people's attention to say, here I am. But it was about 3 days till they found me. I did, out of curiosity, research whether any 15, 16-year-olds had died, 15, 16-year-old nuns or convent girls or saints. And the only person I found was a 15-year-old girl, Dymphna, Dymphna, and she was an Irish girl whose father became insane when he lost his wife, and he wanted to marry his daughter. He wanted to marry Dymphna. She had to leave Ireland along with other people, including the pastor, the priest. And they went somewhere I can't remember where it was now, but they went somewhere in Europe. And alas, her father tracked her down. And because she refused to marry him, he killed her with his, he had a sword and he just butchered her. And she was beatified, is that how you say it, and was elevated to sainthood by the Catholic Church. So that was the only 15 or 16-year-old I found. But her death was different to mine in that I wasn't murdered. Mine was quite an ignominious death. I fell down a manhole. but that was the only one I found. As I say, there's other things that have happened that have, left me in no doubt that there is an afterlife, that we did have a pre-life, and that there's things going on, that people who've got these closed minds, I think, are the ones who are immature. I won't say stupid, but all the things that they aim at us who are open-minded, I would say back at you, because of my beliefs, because of the experiences I've had and continue to have. Anyway, I'll be back, and I'll keep on top of what's happening with Chantal, and of course I'll be back. I hope you all managed to, those of you who wanted to, get onto Kiwi and see what's going on there. I'll be back later, everybody, or tomorrow. Okay, have a great evening. Bye-bye.